Hello, hello, and welcome to Tapping Tuesday. My name is Feeble, and for this hour, we are going to do EFT together. I'm in a silly mood. EFT stands for Emotional Freedom Techniques, and I'll give a little blurb about what it is, and then we'll get right into it. If this is your first time here, welcome. If it is not your first time here, welcome back. We've got just a few rules that we follow, but mostly this is for you to have an experience. So, EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, specifically clinical EFT, and the differentiation is EFT is a very simple technique to apply. The moves for it are be easy, which is fantastic. And the difference between all of the different ways that people have applied that and clinical EFT is that there are 48 techniques that have specifically been clinically tested. What does that mean? Well, that means that they went through the scientific process hundreds of times now over the span of longer than a decade. So we know for sure that these 48 techniques have a known cadence to them, that we know how to apply them, and the outcome that they are most likely to produce because it has done so in a standardized form in a scientific setting over and over and over again. And there's lots of published studies on this that you can look up. Really cool science to know. But the reason we do this here today is because there's a difference between knowing all of these facts and feeling a difference in your own body when you go to release trauma or overwhelm or a phobia, things that you don't want, or to shift whatever it is that's in your way that's keeping you from receiving the thing that you do want. And that's really hard to process through your body just by reading text. So, how we're going to do that today is let's see. I'll start with the chat. So there's a live chat that happens through the whole session. And at any point, you're welcome to place anything in the chat that you would like to tap on. This does not have to be like your biggest, worst thing out there, right? It can be a pet peeve. It could be even a little vague if you want to be. That makes it a little bit harder to make it specific, but that doesn't matter for me to make it specific. I will show you how to make it catered to you because my purpose here is empowering you to know how to better do this for yourself. At any time you can put it there. If it's a little too personal or you want to have a little bit of conversation back and forth about it, you're always welcome to email it to me. That will just mean that it will be the following week that we would address it though, when I can have time to get your email, see if you want to remain anonymous or not, and then present it to the community for all of us to tap on it with you. I may not get to all of the suggestions in the chat. I do my very, very best. And I will group things together when I can, when it makes sense to. And again, I will show you how to make that specific to you and to what's happening in your mind and your body, because that's where the magic happens, right? Is it within your own nervous system. And I'm just here to help you, to guide you on how to make that happen. In EFT, there are specific points. If you don't know what that word means, it's if you think about acupuncture, where they know where to put these little needles into, we're using those same spots, but instead of needles, we're using our fingers. And if you don't know the tapping points, it's okay. Just go along with me. If you do know the tapping points, you're going to notice I don't go through them very often. In fact, I usually end up just staying right here, or right here. And the reason I do that just within this context is because I want to be here for a support only. I don't want you prioritizing following me. I want you to move to whatever spot feels good for you to utilize. So if, say, your face is feeling tender today and you don't want to tap around your orbital socket, you don't have to. You can skip that and not feel like you're out of cadence with the session. So I want you to stay focused on what you're feeling in your body. And then if you feel lost, then come and follow what I'm doing. Does that make sense? Okay, hopefully, because you can't answer and I hear you. So you can tell me in the chat if I need to re-clarify. Let's see. I think I covered everything. If you have other questions, I'm happy to answer like little questions. And by little, I mean things that I can answer with a short amount of words. Otherwise, I would love to email with you. And my email is at the top of the chat. I will speak it out loud. It is Fable, Fable, at EFTuniverse.com. And that just allows us more time and freedom. Whereas I'm going to spend this time actually having you go through the technique, pick up on a few skills, and have some relief. Whew. Because let's admit it, it's stressful right now. So with that, I will say hello to what we've got going on in the chat. We will take a moment to ground together, and then we'll get right into the tapping. Hello, Mary. Hi, Mama Hutch. So glad that you're here. Hi, Zarina. Oh, you're so welcome. I love being here with you. Hello, Savannah. Oh, thank you so much for your words. This is changing my life, and the effects are felt, observable, meaningful. Oh, girl, you're gonna make me cry. Really, really grateful for you. Thank you. And I'm so glad that you're here. And I'm so proud of you for the effect that you're having in your life with this. And yay for good weather in LA. Hello, Peg. Hi, Tanya. So happy to have you here. Hi, Lauren. Please tap on overwhelm. Yes, ma'am. Let's see, Sid. Sid, I don't know if that's your whole name there, but let me know if it's okay for me to call you Sid. If not, then please let me know how else I can address you. Tapping to gain patience. Can we do that? Absolutely. Thank you for your suggestion. Hello, Nancy. Hi, Sandy. And Joe. My mom doesn't say thank you always and keeps asking or limiting me anyway. It's not fair because I do everything for her still. Okay. So, me think on that on just a second. I'll loop back around to that, Joe. Thank you for your suggestion. I'm curious if it feels more like ingratitude, like you're needing more of a connection point in order for it to feel like you're being nurtured and fed for everything that you're giving. If it feels more like you're being taken advantage of, which I know those kind of sound like the same thing, but they can feel really different. I want to know what word really hits that definition for you. Great way to explain it, though. I appreciate your explanation. Hi, Dr. Scott. Hi, Sue. Hello, Karen. Oh, my time with you and everyone. Today is a demanding day. Good self-care. Yes, I'm glad that you're here, Karen. Hello, Christina. Just for tapping. Overwhelm, grief, balance of nervous system, sleep issues. Thank you for your suggestions. Okay, Sid is great. Awesome. Awesome. Thank you. And Savannah, tapping request. Permission to thrive, to take up space, to not make myself smaller when I sense people are intimidated by me being in my joy or wellness. That can be a really tricky one. And Savannah, I'll just tell you right now, that tends to be connected to safety. Feeling safe to let people hold their own stuff and know that you will still be safe, even if other people are made to be responsible for their own reactions. And chances are you had experiences where you weren't safe for other people to have their own reactions. So then you took on the responsibility of their responses because that was your only way of being safe. And Karen, patience, I need another lifetime to get enough. And Serena, I like permission to thrive. That sounds awesome. Awesome. Great. Okay. We've got some solid suggestions that I think all kind of loop into each other. So let's go ahead and start with overwhelm, but I'm going to phrase it a little bit differently. And we will ground first. But I want to phrase it in terms of too big, that this is too big, because that way, if the word overwhelm isn't quite hitting, the bullseye of what you're looking for, too big. This is too big. It's too much. It's too complicated. It's all of those things can be an easy way to encompass a lot more of what we've already chatted about. Okay, and Joe, she's taking advantage of me, but I want to enjoy my time with her, even though she acts that way. So appreciate is my goal, I think. Perfect. Thank you for that. So yeah, I think setting some emotional boundaries then for you, because it sounds like you're very aware that your mom is your mom. And no, we haven't done the grounding yet, Serena. I'm just chatty today, I guess. We will still do it, I promise. Um, that your mom is your mom and you want to find a way to enjoy her despite the fact that the time together is a little bit complicated and can be a little bit triggering. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I think that can be really common, especially for people who tend to be empathic. So, all right, let's get grounded and then let's start tapping. So for grounding today, let's see. First, let's take a breath, and I'm going to place my hands over my heart for this breath. And I invite you to join me in doing that. So let's go ahead and breathe in deep. Let it out. And let's take another good breath. If deep does not feel like a good description to you, just whatever feels comfortable. Okay, take another breath. And out. And now just breathe. Let's keep our hands on our heart. And as you breathe, notice that you have a body. Maybe your brain has been thinking about so many things and outside of yourself that you kind of forget sometimes that you have this body, and this body has so many parts to it and it does so many things. So let's sit here for a moment and just feel our hearts. And you may be able to actually feel your heartbeat, you may not. Either way, it's okay. Just think about how so close to where your hands are right now is this incredible organ that is doing so much for the rest of your body. Just consider your heart. And breathe. And breathe. And now let's take our hands and place them somewhere else on your body. You can follow what I do, or you can place them elsewhere. I'm going to go to just under my heart on my rib cage, just kind of my belly area. Now I'm going to think about all of the body parts that are under my hands right here. I have lungs, I have bones, I have muscles, I have organs, a lot of things having to do with digestion. And I'm not thinking any deeper than that. Just thinking, oh, yeah, there's a liver, there's a pancreas, there's a stomach, and a lot of intestines in there somewhere. Just thinking generally about my body. Now let's take a breath. Let's go one more spot. And you could put your hands in different spots if you want. So I'm going to go to my head, but you could do like your forehead and your knee if you wanted. It does not have to be in the same place. And now as I focus on where my hands are, thinking about my face, how much I use my face for communication, for expression. It's so much of how I identify with who I am. Thinking about my skull, all these little bones that articulate to make up the shape of my noggin. Noggin is a slang word for skull. The brain that's inside of it, how crazy of an organ that is. Let's take a breath. Go ahead and relax your hands. Take just a moment and just scan your body. All the parts that you didn't think about as deeply, but just notice arms, fingers, legs, toes. And let's take one more breath. Nicely done. Okay, I saw a few chats come in, so let me see. Parashurama. I'm probably not pronouncing that correctly, but I'm doing my best. Can you include shame and guilt? Shame is the deepest of negative emotions, a feeling we will do almost anything to avoid. Unfortunately, our abiding fear of shame impairs our ability to see reality. Thank you for that. And yes, shame and guilt is something that we can absolutely connect with these taps that we're going to do today. And okay, Tonya, too big, related to overwhelm feels perfect. Yay. And Serena, it's kind of how I feel about my sister. Oh, perfect. So maybe the emotional boundaries can be positive for multiple people. And Dr. Scott, can you please comment on tapping on the liver point when it's useful or contraindicated? Boy, that's really testing me being able to just pull that up out of the blue. I would say contraindications are kind of out of the scope of an EFT practitioner. I do have a little bit more knowledge on it just from other certifications that I have, but I don't feel like stating them within this space is appropriate. So, from the standpoint of an EFT practitioner, if there's ever a tapping point that doesn't feel comfortable to tap on, then stop. Sometimes tapping points are sore. Acupoints are known for having stuck energy. When energy is stuck there, it can feel tender to tap on. And that's something that we acknowledge in clinical EFT. But if you're tapping and you're like, ooh, that's a little bit sore. The stomach one is a really common one to be sore. And say maybe after 10 taps, it's still a little bit sore. You might be tapping a little too hard. You can just barely, in fact, there's a method of just hold and breathe. We call it touch and breathe tab in clinical EFT. You don't need pressure. For acupressure, you need pressure. For traditional Chinese medicine, you need pressure. For EFT, you do not need pressure. You just need that little bit of vibration that go into that point from contact. Okay. So really be aware of discomfort. And then the liver point is around anywhere. Well, I'm not sure which one you mean. It's on liver meridian. And I think I'll leave it there. Okay, thank you. Okay, most of the time we avoid it, but usually include it. And it usually feels just fine. Great. If it works for you, do it. I love using the liver points myself too. So shame is a real deep in there thing. Okay. All right, let's get to tapping. So our first tap, let's go ahead and talk while we start tapping. Considering too big. This issue, this definition, this process, this fact that I don't want to be a fact, that isn't a fact for everybody, but feels 100% true for me. I don't want it, but I don't know how to get rid of it. It feels too big to change. It feels too grounded. It feels too real. I don't know how to get around it. I feel like I'm lying to myself when I say, no, that doesn't have to be true. Feels like it absolutely does. All of those can be examples of something that's too big. Okay. It doesn't just have to be, I'm too exhausted to deal with that. It could be, I don't think I have the ability to change it. It's too big. So, overwhelm, anger, fear, any type of societal or familial normality that you were given that you don't want to accept anymore. So, go ahead and choose a word or a phrase for what's too big that fits this definition of, maybe I can make it a little bit better, but I don't really think right now that I could change it. Okay. It's okay if you start to have feelings as you consider this. That's actually a good sign that you're connecting with it. As I consider this thing in my life that is too big, I deeply and completely accept myself. Even though, as I consider this thing that's too big, I have feelings, a lot of feelings about it being too big. I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. And even though right now I am entirely convinced that it's too big. I choose to hold space, to be surprised at a different perspective. If it shows up, I'll appreciate it. But maybe I'm right. It is too big. Some things just are. And sometimes, just accepting it is the healthiest thing to do. And then deal with the feelings that I have about it afterwards. Even if I have these thoughts and they feel practical, I still choose to hold space for a different perspective. Okay, but how? I'm not sure how to achieve a different perspective when this feels so big. That's fair. How do I make room for a different perspective when this perspective is taking up so much space? It's taking up like all of the space, actually. If I were to imagine the space that this is taking up, I wonder, what would that look like? How would I describe that? Would it be an ocean that surrounds my entire environment? Would it be bigger? Would it be surrounding the entire world, the universe, all of existence, known and unknown? How big do I really see this being? Is there any space that exists outside of this big thing? Too big. This too big thing in my life. My perspective. My perspective of this very big thing. I wonder if it were possible, if I could do it, how could I create space? Would I consider the energy of a favorite word of mine? Could I do it just by placing a boundary, holding a space? Is that possible? Could I ask for help from a space that I see is outside of this big thing? Whether I ask for help in my mind or in real life, in my mind is part of real life. Maybe it's okay for this to all start in here first. Because isn't it true that that's the perspective I'm trying to shift? So, what if, just maybe, what if I could create some space just in here, right now? So, take a moment and just try a few ways. And if you have success immediately, perfect. If it takes you a few tries, that is very common. And it could be maybe you have a glowing sword and it's a sword of pure energy, and you literally just cut a space and the sword just eradicates whatever the big thing is and it makes space for you. Maybe you shrink it down, you gather it in your hands and you just compact it until it just gets smaller and smaller. Maybe you take a deep breath and you blow it far away and you blow a space open around you. Your brain is looking for a way to give you answers, and it's okay to be creative in this space. It works to allow your brain, your subconscious brain, to focus on creating outcomes. As I work to create this space, I wonder, what am I going to do with it? Now that I have room to consider a different perspective, how am I going to fill it up? Do I even know what I want in this space? What is it that I get to have if I'm not having to deal with that other too big? Is it peace, relief, connection, empowerment, success, joy, silliness, permission? What is it that I'm seeking? As I consider what outcome I am free to have, I deeply and completely accept myself. Yeah, well, this is nice to think about, but this is too big. It's still too big. And carving out a little space is nice. It's a nice thought. And thinking about what I want, well, that's also nice. But what is it really doing? What do I really receive from this positive thinking? Hmm. As I ask myself this question, I deeply and completely accept myself, and I deserve an answer. It's okay for me to ask questions. It's okay for me to check in on my processes. In fact, that's a smart thing to do. So I wonder, what do I get from this? How does this help me in a real life way? Well, isn't it true that part of this too big scenario that's in my life, it affects me? It feels heavy, and I'm tired. Maybe I'm sad, and I don't have a complete solution yet. In fact, I may not know when I could have a complete solution. So it's going to continue to be heavy. So, what if what I'm doing right now is my active rebellion against that heaviness? It is my way of saying, I may not be able to control everything that you touch, but I can control how much you get to touch this. I can control how much you get to have an effect on that. even if all that is, is how happy I feel inside my body. And feeling happy inside of my body, despite big things happening around me, well, that's okay. That's power, actually. And being happy in my body, well, that doesn't stop me from being effective in continuing to look for a solution. In fact, isn't it true that if I can manage to allow myself to find this peace, this joy, this connection, this comfort, whatever it is that I want right now instead of waiting, isn't that already allowing me what I'm looking for? And maybe, oh, maybe if I get this little piece, just this little tiny piece, this little bit of it, and I help it to thrive inside my own body, maybe I'll find more. Maybe I'll start to see patterns where this exists in bigger places and in other people. Is that possible? Could that be how this works? Yes. No. I don't know. And even if, as I consider how well this could work, my answer is I don't know, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself because I'm asking, I'm looking, and I'm willing. I'm willing to give it a try because what if? What if it does work? What if this is the perspective that 10 minutes ago I couldn't even believe existed? Maybe, maybe there is something to this. And it didn't take me a lot of time, it didn't take me a lot of effort to consider it. So I give myself permission to hold space for this. I give myself permission to rebel against this big issue and feel good in my own body and to hold on to that fiercely as I continue to seek a full solution. This big issue, this big issue affecting my body, my power to affect my body, rebelling by holding good no matter what in my body, and permission to seek that out in my environment. And as I learn to hold this space for myself, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, go ahead and pause tapping and take a deep breath. Nicely done. Now take just a moment and think about your too big issue and notice how that feels in your body right now. And think about how it felt before we started tapping. And is there a difference? If it feels not quite as big, more distant, if you feel more positive, more energetic, more hopeful, more empowered, if during the tapping you were yawning, sighing, crying, laughing, giggling, your body was wanting to move, you got sleepy, all of those are signs that your subconscious brain said, ooh, oh, I appreciate where this is going. I see how this is more beneficial. I understand how this is more applicable to how we're living right now. Let's shift this template and go with this perspective. And it will continue to work to support that, even though you're no longer tapping on it. Really good job. All right, let's go ahead and jump right into what we're going to tap on next. I really want to touch on shame. I know we've got boundaries as well. Um, Shame could kind of go into, let's see, grief. Hmm. Okay, let's do so. I don't think we've tapped in anything in this way for a while. Well, I don't know how true that is. We'll see. We'll get going. In shame or something else that you don't want. So we kind of just said overwhelm, but and if you want patience, then think about I don't want whatever the opposite of patience is to you. So impatience, or I don't want frustration. I don't want anger or irritation, whatever that word is that's opposite for you. Um, yeah, let's do that. And we're going to do what I call a bit of a radical tap. And that's because we're going to do it from a space of a lot of emotion rather than like more rational thoughts. So hopefully this will be a fun way to tap and maybe a different way than you've tapped before. I'm going to go to the space. So it's just in between these two bones on the back of the hand here. And you can just line your fingertips up to get all the way across. But the point sits about here. This is typically what we use when we're doing the 9 gamut, which is one of a set of clinical EFT techniques. But we're just going to use the spot for right now. We're not going to go into the whole technique. And the reason I'm using this one is because I'm intending to invoke emotion. Okay. And this one's really good for when you've got a lot of emotion happening. So think of that thing that you don't want and really allow yourself, as much as feels safe to do, to connect with the feelings that you have with it and how much you hate it. Oh, it's just so stupid. All of those feelings. Okay. As I consider this thing that I don't want, I deeply and completely accept myself. As I consider this thing that I don't want and all of the feelings that I have connected to it, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. Even though, as I focus on this right now, it feels worse instead of better, I still choose to deeply and completely accept myself. This thing has caused so much trouble in my life. I don't want it. I didn't ask for it. I've never been supported in what to do to not have it. I don't deserve for it to be influencing my life the way that it is. And it's eating me alive. It is destroying what I actually want. I have so many feelings, and I want them all gone. Everything that's connected to this. As I allow myself to feel these big feelings, I hold space to also be curious about them. I wonder if I despise them so strongly, why are they still here? Why can't I get rid of them? No, really, why? Is it because I feel I have to deal with them? Was I taught or told in some way that even if I don't want this, I have to deal with it? I wonder, do I feel like I have to overcome it? I have to beat it somehow. I have to prove this is not me. I need other people to validate that. Hey, that's not you. That's right, it's not me. Am I waiting? Am I waiting for something, some need to be met for it to go away? Am I waiting for someone else to stop it, to stop engaging me and creating this outcome? Do I perceive that I don't have that control? Because part of it lies outside of what I can control. Therefore, I'm stuck with the outcome. Let's take a breath. This thing, this thing that's ruining my life, this thing that won't go away, this thing that's stuck. And it's not that easy to let go of. I can't just release it by saying words. It's not going to make it better to just delete it from my brain. Yeah, maybe it'll help, but that can't fix it. Even if right now, part or all of me believes I cannot fix this, not through tapping, not through talking, I still choose to hold space, to be surprised to find a way that maybe actually it could. I just don't see how, not ever. After all, in this moment, I feel every single emotion that I ever have, ever in my whole entire life. Okay, obviously, some things change. I have preferences that change. I have things that felt super intense that maybe aren't as intense anymore. But that's different. It's different than this is, right? They're not the same. This is different. Even if there is a part of me or all of me that believes that this emotion is too different and cannot be changed or released, I still choose to hold space to be wrong about that. I wonder, what if it were just gone? What if all of a sudden I just did have permission to be myself and I could just be fabulous all the time? Would I even know what to do? Do I even know what that is? Maybe I've been fighting so hard to just have the spot, to just have a platform of permission. I don't even know what comes next. And what if all of my shame was gone? What if I saw nothing through that lens anymore? What's left? How do I see things then? Is it possible that part of the reason why this is so hard to get rid of is because it's the only platform that I know to stand on? I don't want it, but what else do I have? As I consider what else I might have, I deeply and completely accept myself. It's okay if I don't know. It's okay if this is a hard question. It's okay if this is a new space for me. And maybe it even makes sense because people do talk about how shame is something that you shouldn't have to hold on to, and patience is something wonderful to have, and letting your light shine is the goal of every balanced person. But what does that even mean? Who am I in that space? What's my first step? What's my first step to this whole other person that I don't even know? I don't even know them. Who are they? Who am I in that space? I wonder, have I ever actually gotten to be myself? Or have I actually spent the majority of my life trying to meet the expectation of who someone else thought I was or wanted me to be? Whether they were well meaning or not, am I my version of myself? Or am I still trying to fix the version of me that my parents shaped? my brother or sister created or influenced, that my friends accepted, that my partners in the past or present have desired. Am I my own person? Yeah. Nope. I don't know. Even if right now I'm not sure if I am my own person, I wonder, how could I start? How could I start to build that platform? How could I start to create that space to make a cozy version of an environment for my version of me to thrive in? Maybe I know myself well enough to know what I don't want to live in that space. But what do I want? And maybe I start with easy questions. I start with, what are my preferences? And maybe I just have conversations with myself as I go throughout my day. Do I prefer this type of toothbrush? Or is this something that I bought because my mom did it? Do I prefer this style of clothing? Do I feel like me in these clothes? Or is this what I feel is expected of me when I go to work, pick up my kids, go exercise at the gym? And even if I still feel like it needs to be a slow change, maybe I can offer myself little changes, little things. Maybe I wear a different shirt or jewelry. Maybe I get a different water bottle. Maybe I just have different thoughts. I don't want this big thing. And maybe the way I release it is by taking up all the space with things that I do want, things that are more solid, more concrete. They have more substance because they're who I am. And they get to replace who I'm not. And I know who I am not. Finding my pieces. Finding my truth. Finding my truth outside of other people. Conversations with myself. Connecting inside me. And as I explore this possibility, I give myself permission to take up all of this space That is my space. This is meant for me. And I give myself permission to see, maybe for the first time, who that really is. And as I explore this, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, pause on tapping and take a deep breath. Nicely done. Now take just a moment. Think about what you focused on and notice how you feel right now. And think about how you felt when we started tapping. And notice if there's a difference from beginning to end. And really absorb any of those positive feelings that you're having right now. Let yourself feel that peace, that enjoyment, that excitement, that success. It's important for your emotions and for your brain. Alrighty, we have just a few minutes, so let's go ahead and do one quick tap. Oh, hey, curiosity. Oh, head pain, you're getting headaches, feel pain come up as you're tapping. It can be a release, absolutely. Pain is a way that our bodies express a lot of different things. I think being aware of it is important. You could also, if you start to have physical pain come up during tapping, you can shift to address that, and give yourself permission to release it. Also, making sure you have enough water, because we run on electricity, right? And electricity evaporates water. Now, this is not like how most of our water is evaporated, but as you are engaging brain activity and utilizing your body, it is important to be hydrated well enough, and that can certainly be an outcome of it. So, yay for the differences. Good job, everyone. Alrighty. I'm just gonna wing it because I think if I go through the comments looking for something, I'll spend all the time doing that. So going into our closing tap, we've gone pretty deep. So let's bring ourselves up to maybe a space that'll make it a little bit easier to engage in whatever we're doing next. As I am affected by my tapping today, I give myself permission to feel really good about it. I allow myself to notice the differences. Maybe there are places in my body that feel more open, more available. Maybe I feel lighter, more cheerful, more powerful. Maybe I feel some emotions stirring where before they were kind of behind a closed door. And it's not completely out yet. It's not completely done processing. But I give myself permission to see the success in that as well. I am proud of myself. I am proud of my try. I am proud of my give. I am proud of how I adapt. I am proud of how I connect, how I'm connecting with myself and with my community. I acknowledge this is a healthy place for me to be. I acknowledge this is a cool thing to be doing. And I allow myself to feel appreciation for being here. and for doing this. And maybe that's even part of what self-love is. And I can acknowledge that maybe right now I'm even showing myself that I love me. I'm invested in me. And I'm excited for what today and all of the tappings that I've done and the outcomes that they produce. And as I go throughout the rest of today, throughout the rest of this week, maybe even throughout the rest of this month, I give myself permission to continue to feel this integration, to have more and more confidence in these shifts that I am creating, that I'm building for myself, and allowing myself to feel more brave, to feel more positive. And as I do this, I deeply and completely accept myself. Okay, pause and take a breath. Alrighty. And that's it. We are at time. Thank you so much for being here with me this week. I really appreciate getting to tap with all of you. And I really appreciate all of your shares, the conversations that you have with me and with each other in the chat. I hope that you feel seen and heard and valid, cared for and loved because you are. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I hope I get to see you next week. But if not, there will always be a recording posted after. Take care, and I will see you soon. Mwah.